Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. If you've been following this channel for a while, you're probably well aware of the fact I talk a lot about political messaging. And although I am a conservative, I talk a lot about the political messaging that comes from Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party of Canada. I explain what they're attempting to do and often why it is not working. And there's a new poll out I have for you that proves my point that everything the Liberals have been doing to attack Pure Poly and the Conservatives, or even just promote themselves, has not just been ineffective, it's been completely counterproductive because the top issues in Canada driving how people are going to vote do not lean towards the Liberals or the NDP at all, or at least in significant ways. Again, it is a first past the post system, so really you just want the plurality of people to agree with you on the issues that are driving votes. And the Liberals aren't even in like the top three these days. Back when Pure Polyev first became the conservative leader, you could say that when you ranked what people thought as their big issues, the Liberals would usually be up at the top end of that list. You know, in the top three issues, maybe one to two of them were issues that advantaged the way that the Liberals talk about the issue, or at least their policies on it. These days, it's a complete wipeout for them. There's nothing in the top that advantages the Liberals. I'm about to get into that, but before we do, I'm going to remind you that if you don't currently subscribe to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. Keep following our future videos. Like this video, leave a comment, all that good stuff. I just mention it because 75% of people who watch my videos are not current subscribers. Anyways, now let's get into it. So I'm just starting this off with the top two issues. These ones are pretty obvious. Jobs and economy, 15% of people say that's their top issue, and 13% of people say healthcare. One could argue maybe healthcare kind of advantages the NDP and the Liberals. I've heard that from someone yesterday. But the problem with making that assumption is that just because in the past healthcare might be a better issue for the Liberals than the Conservatives does not mean it's going to be a good issue for them going into this next election, especially since most people who care about healthcare a lot these days believe that there needs to be reform in the system. And that's what the Conservatives represent. Okay, but now let's go down a little bit further. I'll go one by one here now. Inflation, 9%. Nobody picking inflation is voting NDP or Liberal. They keep blaming corporations for inflation. That it's actually the evil grocery store chain owners that are arbitrarily raising the price of peanut butter, crackers, and bananas. It's foolish. It's only a socialist would believe that. So I would guarantee you 7%, 6% of that 9% are saying they're voting conservative. Maybe even 1% of it might be PPC, because those people tend to be very fiscally conservative and do think that inflation is a top issue. And in general, economics and jobs and inflation are all going to be very conservative type issues to be caring about going into the next election, especially considering that if you're a Liberal, you're disproportionately going to be a federal government employee, and you have no problem with the current the jobs performance of the Liberal government, because they keep hiring more and more people into the public service and raising their wages. Okay, the next one, housing, 9%. You could say this one's a little bit more mixed because younger people might care about housing and that might help out the NDP. But again, although the Liberals keep pushing for their housing plan, the housing issue, as they've been polling what people think the issue is, it usually tends to be the complaint that the Conservatives levy against the current housing administration across Canada is that there is too many regulations, too many codes, too many environmental inspections that need to be done, too many taxes in order to build a house, and that if we clear away some of the stuff, that doesn't mean getting rid of zoning laws. Zoning laws were never a problem before. They're not a problem now. But if we get rid of a lot of the other regulations and government hoops that you have to jump through, we could make housing more affordable. That would also play into immigration. Okay, let's get down to the next one. Immigration. Speak of the devil right there. Mass immigration is not popular. And right now, the only party that is actually significantly talking about cutting immigration, other than the PPC, and I'll talk about them eventually in a video on how Maxime Bernier squandered his chance to actually be popular in Canada, that this is a very conservative coded issue these days. Yes, the Liberals just cut immigration by 100,000, which might buoy them up a little bit in Quebec. But in general, if you're in Quebec and you're anti-immigration, you're either voting Conservative or Bloc Québécois before you're considering voting Liberal. The Liberals only made the immigration cuts recently, which was only about a cut of 100,000 people, because if they didn't, they would be even further in the hole than they currently are today. This is another one that heavily advantages the Conservatives. Now we're about to hit the first one that you can genuinely say advantages Liberals or the NDP: environment. Because yes, there are Conservatives who care about the environment, they care about actual conservation, they just aren't climate change alarmists. This one, probably one or two percent of people who said environment might be Conservative voters. I generally think it's probably mostly NDP, Liberal, and Green voters who care about the environment. But that's the first one on the list that the Liberals actually care about. And these are in order of support, even though there are 2 9s and 2 7s. It's usually whichever one had like the higher decimal point. We have to go 6 issues deep before it's an issue that the Liberals are decisively more comfortable talking about than the Conservatives. This was not how it was even a year ago. Environment actually used to punch in at 14% or 13% or 12%, which would make it one of the top issues. There was other issues around healthcare would be much higher, and I think that healthcare has fallen over time because more people who care about protecting the universal system have gone away, and they realize it's more of a government efficiency and management question. So maybe healthcare on this list still technically advantages the Liberals, but it's too much of a mixed issue to really say the Liberals have the advantage, especially since they are the current governing establishment, and any problems that you could peg on the government would be going after the Liberals for the issues. You can't say that they're the solution when they've been the problem for 9 years. Yes, it's a provincial issue, but they're sitting in the jacuzzi with the provinces. They could help make reforms. They could help allow for provinces to have more private options to sort of lighten the load on the public system. They don't let it. Let's go down to another one: debt and deficits. There's not a single Liberal or NDP voter who cares about debt and deficits. Let's be clear. That's a Conservative issue. Homelessness. You could say that one goes for the NDP and the Liberals, because Conservatives probably consider it a housing issue, whereas the NDP and Liberals would consider it a homelessness issue, that we have not provided enough affordable housing. We have not provided enough shelter space, even though it's usually left-wing municipal policies that end up encouraging people to basically camp out on the streets, which then makes it stick. They're now permanently there because there's never a push to move them off. And the last one, high taxes, Conservative one. Extremism, 2%. You could say that goes either way, because you're going to have a bunch of really nuts Liberal and NDP people saying, well, we have to stop the Maple MAGA crazy conservative extremists. But then you'd have some Conservatives, rightfully so, saying, no, the real extremism issue is like Hamas on our streets. The Liberals are in a deep hole. That's really what I'm trying to get at here, and I'm pretty sure you got that point. Here's some other things from the Leger poll. And the thing is, this Leger poll is not even as hawkish on the Conservatives as other polls. They only give the Conservatives a 16% lead, which is good. That's still a majority government easily territory. But I'm not just picking a poll out that was like 22% for the Conservatives, although those are pretty common these days. This one was a little milder on them, and I believe it's because they have a slightly more urban mix of people they're polling. But look at that. Total satisfaction, 27%. There has not been a government in Canadian history with this low of a satisfaction rate that got back into office. And 5%, only 5% of people are very satisfied. This poll had 27.6% of people saying they were voting Liberal, and 5% of people in this poll said very satisfied, which means basically the rest of them are only saying they're somewhat satisfied, who are voting for the incumbent government. That's nuts. Somewhat dissatisfied or totally dissatisfied? 68% of people are dissatisfied. That's crazy. And look at this. Let's go to the Conservatives, here's the party affiliations. 76% of Liberals say that they're very satisfied with the current government or Justin Trudeau's government. Somewhat satisfied, very satisfied was only 17%. Somewhat satisfied is 58%. That's insane. That's actually just nuts that you can't get that many people. And then you even have the NDP, who 71% of them are somewhat or very unsatisfied. They're coalition partners, and it doesn't matter if Jagmeet Singh ripped up the supply and confidence deal. They're still the coalition partners, and the vast majority of NDP people are against them. This is just ridiculous. The dissatisfaction rate, in fact, basically fell after the 21 election, and especially last year, Justin Trudeau has been below 30% for most of the time. There's no recovering from this. And it's because the Liberals don't know how to talk to Canadians anymore. And this is what I'm getting back to. Him trying to jab Pierre Poilievre, because did you know some of your CPC MPs requested their communities could get some housing accelerator fund money? Who's voting because of that? Who's like, oh man, Michael Cooper asked if his community up in Edmonton can get some housing accelerator fund money? That's not the gotcha you think it is. If money is being spent by the government, which MP is going to say, oh, yeah, we don't want any of it? Even if it's inefficient spending, even if it's a stupid bloated program, no MP is just going to say, yeah, we don't want it. That's just not how politics works. There's a lot of people who frankly don't understand how politics works, and they just assume that like, and this is basically what the Liberals are feeding into, that if you are against the program, that you reject the program, you shun the program, you want nothing to do with it. That's not how it works. You are going to try and get your constituents the most taxpayer money spent in their area as humanly possible. Even if you disagree with the programs, you're not just going to say, we don't want any of it because we disagree with it. If the money is being spent, you want it. Albertans, like myself, want less overall government spending. That's also why when the Liberals fearmonger against conservative cuts, they're only scaring people with a good time. But I want government spending reduced, but I also want more money spent in Alberta because it's silly that we pay massive amounts of money in taxes, and through equalization, a disproportionate amount of our money is then spent in other parts of Canada. That doesn't mean that we're hypocrites because we want more money spent here. We're saying if you're going to spend it, at least somewhat spend it on us. I'm just going to quickly check if there is any more Liberal advertisements I can talk about here. I don't think there really has been anything with the Liberals. Oh god, this one looks fun. Oh, okay. Okay, guys, we're gonna feed it in at the end here. I know people like when the videos go on a bit longer, but maybe I'll do this before we get into it. Quickly plugging it. If you guys want to support the show, please donate to the Give, Send, Go legal fund I have in the description of the video below. It's also pinned at the top of the comments. And my website, my personal website, WyattClaypool.com, is also there. So if you want to donate, you can go through the Give, Send, Go. And if you just want to help out, or if you want to sign up on my website to basically get nomination and leadership recommendations around the country, sign up there, and it allows me to target nomination endorsements and leadership endorsements to your specific province or even specific riding. Anyways, now without further ado, here is a new Liberal ad, which I believe, and again, I'm going into this sight unseen. Let's see what the Liberals are trying to say to Canadians to get them back.
If you want to do big things, people will always say it can't be done. When Liberals said they wanted to tackle child poverty in Canada, people said it couldn't be done.
Oh my God, they're actually citing Vox. I've noticed as the Liberals have become weaker in the polls, as they've fallen apart, they start citing more and more fringe left-wing publications to say nice things about them. So this is also an article from 2020. It's been a while. Maybe Vox should be informed that food bank usage is at record highs right now. It says how Canada lifted nearly 300,000 kids out of poverty in a single year. You know how they did it? They didn't do it. They just change metrics for what counts as child poverty. Oh, well, we have, hygiene products in our bathrooms now, in the boys' bathrooms too. Child poverty has been reduced. More kids than ever have internet access. Child poverty has been reduced. And it's a lot of things that would have been solved anyways over time with better technology and has nothing to do with poverty. Like, in fact, it would mean that when the economy was great in 2005, there was more child poverty because don't you know, not every kid had a cell phone. That's how they started measuring child poverty, through silly niche metrics that don't actually tell you, is the kid's family financially solvent? Because if that was the metric, actual poverty was the metric for child poverty, we would be at record highs for child poverty. But we've just decided not to do that. But they'll cite Vox now, and they'll cite Cult MTL, which is a complete rag that just puts out propaganda for the Liberals. Cult MTL keeps putting out the same stupid article, saying that nobody likes Pierre Poilievre and he's unpopular. Did you know that he has a net negative popularity? Because his popularity is like a net negative of 1. It's like, okay, Justin Trudeau has a net negative popularity rating of -25. What's your point?
Done. When they said they wanted to create a national affordable childcare system, people said it couldn't be done.
And they were right. Great call from the people who said it couldn't be done, because it hasn't. Well, it's created tens of thousands of new spaces. No, it hasn't. It hasn't at all. And if it has, it's just subsidized spaces that were already being created. In the short amount of time the child care program has been around, there has not been enough time for new daycares to open. They are simply recategorizing old spaces as being new, affordable spaces.
When they
And it's not affordable. It's a massive taxpayer boondoggle to pay for very few people to get slightly cheaper childcare. And somebody could say, well, that helps me out. Well, that was great. It did help me out. Wow, if every taxpayer gave me a bunch of money every year, it would help me out a lot. But that's not the point of tax dollars. It's not to disproportionately help a small group of people to the detriment of everyone else. Or the logical conclusion of that is bankrupting everybody for a singular king to make sure that he doesn't suffer at all and throughout his entire life. And I'm not trying to compare parents to kings or monarchs here, but you get my point. Everyone would be better off if we just cut taxes, not making everyone worse off, but then kind of giving some benefits to some people to, buoy them up a little bit more.
They said they wanted to bring in a national dental care program. People said it couldn't be done.
And it hasn't been done. Some people use the dental care, but most people already had dental care before this. And the people who didn't go to the dentist before the dental care program still don't go to the dentist because dental care insurance didn't really cost that much. It was nice for a lot of people who never really thought of getting dental care insurance and now they're using it and maybe it's cheaper than their previous plan because it's a subsidized plan. But what this is going to do in the long run is just make there be less spaces for dentists because it's going to artificially underpay dentists for their services. This is what Obamacare did in the US. Frankly, this is what universal health care, the way we've implemented it, unlike the European countries, has done to Canada. It doesn't pay well to be a doctor here, so doctors and nurses go elsewhere.
People will always say it can't be done, but we're getting a lot done together.
And this is just gaslighting. Nobody's going to look at this and be like, wow, they really have gotten stuff done, boy howdy. They're just going to be like, yeah, no, I'm worse off. Stop lying to me. And this is what they're doing. It's just happy, clappy, wow, isn't everything great because we passed a program? Or it's, man, those conservatives want to cut stuff. Well, 65%, 62% of people think we spend too much. So, that's not a good line to use. Or saying that the liberal, and they're now saying the NDP are climate deniers because even Jagmeet sings against the consumer carbon tax these days. It's not going to fly. Even with the NDP's hyper-progressive voter base, they're not going to leave the NDP because suddenly Jagmeet Singh doesn't want a consumer carbon tax. Because at the end of the day, everyone's wallets realize that, it needs to go. People will whine about it, but they'll secretly be happy because their gas costs less and their heating costs less. You really can't short-circuit public opinion. People either like the economy or they don't. And dissatisfaction ratings are crazy. Yes, the media every once in a while will pay a polling company to poll, do you like the dental care program? Oh, yes, I like the dental care program is going to be the general result. 65% of people say they like the dental care program. Okay, but if someone cuts the dental care program one day, is anyone actually going to vote against the party that does it? No, not really, because not many people really use it anyways. People already have their own dental insurance. And it's also severely overestimating how many people are even accessing it. Basically, because everyone qualifies for it, anyone who goes to the dentist since the program came into effect is counted as somebody who received universal dental care because they technically could have used it even though their other insurance is better anyways. Oh my goodness, it's so stupid. And you still have to pay for the dental care when you go. You still have to pay for it. It still works like other insurance. It's not just free. You still have to pay the deductible. That's how all insurance has always worked. Dental insurance per month is $27, $25 if you package it along with your other insurance. When you consider the cost on the average taxpayer for the dental care, you're probably paying that anyways. So effectively, the government just forced everyone who didn't have dental care to go buy it. Oh my goodness. Anyways, that's it for me today, guys. I'll see you guys later. If you want to support the show, again, donate to the Give, Send, Go. Sign up on my website, WyattClaypool.com. And also go and subscribe to this channel. Support us. The 75% of you who are not currently subscribers, I see you weasels. You better go subscribe rather than liking my videos without subscribing. I don't know why I'm mad about this. I'm not. I'm just wanting more subscribers. I'm selfish. What can I say? See you guys later.